Take on It by It's_Kingston on EU3. Episode 8, Chapter 8. Luz awoke to a swift poke in the side, opening her eyes revealing Amity, who glared down at her. Taking a moment to remember yesterday's event, Luz smiled. You wanted to see me do magic, remember? I teleported you. Luz explained, rubbing the sleep from her eyes and sitting up. Very funny. Now, where are we and what happened? Amity asked, sounding stern and confused. My aunt's house? You fell asleep, so I carried you here since I didn't want to leave you alone in the library. Luz replied, standing up and walking to the window before opening the blinds. Oh, thanks. Amity responded back warmly. Luz looked back at her, now seeing her face illuminated by the morning glow. Her eyes seemed to shine, much brighter than they had previously. Luz couldn't tell if this was because of the extra light, or if they were becoming closer. Are you going to keep staring? Amity asked, raising an eyebrow. Sorry, I'm gonna go take a shower. Feel free to grab some of my clothes and take one after. Luz said, quickly turning around and hiding the burning sensation that crept onto her cheeks. Thanks. I'm out of the shower now. You can go ahead and take one. Luz called, walking out of the bathroom, her hair still dripping wet. Okay. Amity replied, stepping out of Luz's room. I'll be downstairs. I don't think Eda remembers that you're here, so I should probably tell her. Luz laughed, before briskly heading down the creaking stairs. Hey, Eda. Luz called, heading to the kitchen to begin making breakfast. What's up? Eda replied, poking her head and around the corner. You remember how I brought someone here? She's staying for breakfast, then probably leaving. Luz informed her aunt, not taking her eyes off of the mixing bowl in front of her. Oh, the Blight kid. She could stay here for a while. She's your friend, right? Eda asked, sitting down at the table. Kinda, yeah. We're studying buddies. Luz spun around, giving jazz hands to emphasize the statement. Eda just looked at her and sighed, before laughing at the young girl's antics. Moments later, Amity entered the room, sitting down in the chair furthest from Eda, leaving a spot in between for Luz. What are you doing? Amity asked, looking over at Luz. Making breakfast? And you're just in time. I'm about to be done. She exclaimed, putting 3 stacks of pancakes onto separate plates and sliding them across the table. Thanks, kid. I'm gonna eat in the living room. Give you and your study buddy some room. Eda said, picking up her plate and carrying it away. I didn't know you could cook, Amity said, picking up her fork and taking a bite. Yeah, my mom taught me how to. I used to help her a lot. Luz said between bites. Tastes good, Amity said, not looking from her plate. Thanks, Luz exclaimed, unnecessarily happy that her friend liked her cooking. Do you want to do something later? Luz asked, breaking the silence that had fallen between the pair. Amity hummed in confusion, standing up to put her plate into the sink. Like, hang out? Luz clarified, doing the same. I was going to study today, Amity replied sternly. Why do you study so much? It's the weekend anyways. Luz said back, playfully nudging her green-haired friend. So I can maintain the top score? The answer was sharp and unweaving, comments laced with Amity's tone. Luz hummed, tapping on the table as she thought. Then it hit her. You know how we made that bet? Luz asked, drawing out her sentence. What if we make another one? She finished, earning a sigh from Amity. Do you really want to be kicked out? Amity responded, annoyed, plastered on her face. No, like a smaller one, Luz assured, stopping to think for a moment. I'm listening, Amity responded, now curious about what Luz was alluring to. We'll do a practice test, and if I get a higher score than you, we'll hang out for the rest of the day, Luz decided, looking towards Amity for her response. When I win, we'll take another practice test, Amity challenged, wanting to study as much as possible. Shake on it, Luz said, extending her hand out. Amity did the same and grabbed her hand. It's a deal, Amity confirmed. Luz told Eda they were leaving, and the two began walking through the library where the practice tests would take place. On the way there, Luz realized something. Hey, Blight, why'd you decide on that? On what? Your terms are more practice tests. You trying to bore me to death? Luz exaggerated, waving her arms around. It kind of seems like you want to spend time with me. We either go hang out or spend all day doing practice tests together? Luz teased, a smirk returning to her face. I could say the same to you, Noceda. Amity's voice didn't have a specific emotion, or maybe it was a blend of too many together to tell. I do. Why else would I suggest hanging out? Luz genuinely replied, looking towards her friend. Or at least, that was the word that came to mind. Days ago, Amity was a bully. Now, Luz thought of her as a friend. It was strange how seeing a different side of someone could completely change your opinion on them. Amity didn't respond to Luz's friendly statement, only picking up the pace as Luz stood behind, unsure of whether she could drop the subject. Shrugging, she chased after Amity, ducking through the library doors and quickly running to the romance session, where she opened the secret door and stepped inside, shutting it behind her. Oh, Minty Fresh isn't here yet, Luz mumbled, not knowing how she beat her friend here. Oh, you're already here. Amity's voice startled Luz, causing her to jolt and spin around, much to Amity's amusement. Do you startle easy? Amity asked, putting a stack of papers to the desk next to Luz. No, you're just scary, Luz declared, sitting down in the chair beside Amity. Sure, Amity smirked, handing a couple test papers to Luz. Math first? This early in the morning? Luz complained, not actually knowing what time it was. 10 a.m. isn't early, Amity responded, picking up her pencil and beginning to solve equations. Any time is too early for math, Luz shot back, jotting down answers as she worked them out. Okay, let's see who won, Luz declared, drummer rolls on the desk as Amity marked the papers. Me, Amity said, holding up the papers. Luz had gotten 13 out of 15, while Amity had boasted a perfect score, 15 out of 15. Huh? Let's do a different subject, Luz said, grabbing an English test paper off the stack. As if that'll change anything, Amity teased, earning an annoyed glare from Luz. I bet I'll beat you this time, Luz exclaimed, focusing on her paper. That's why we're here, Amity reminded her, picking up her paper. How? Are you psychic or something? Luz asked, seeing Amity hold up the science test. 14 out of 15 for Luz, and a perfect score for Amity, just like the previous English test. This is what studying gets you, Amity proudly proclaimed, a smug grin settling on her face. History next, Luz exclaimed, ready to win this time, definitely. Sure, Amity confidently replied, comfortable with her current winning position. She passed the paper to Luz, who immediately began working on it. Luz sped through the questions. Having read the book about this event yesterday, she felt confident. Come on, who won? Luz asked, watching Amity reference the papers to the answer sheet. Isn't it obvious? Amity replied, still crossing references in the pages. Amity glared at the pages before sighing. Good job, she said, disappointedly, holding up the papers. Luz had gotten a perfect score, while Amity had gotten 14 out of 15. Oh, how the tables turn, Luz exclaimed, pumping her fist into the air. Do you mean... Shush, I know what I meant. Guess you win then, Amity said, neatly stacking the papers in the desk corner. You won 3 times before, though, Luz added, sliding a phone out of her pocket. It's almost 1:30 p.m. Wanna grab lunch? Luz asked, gesturing towards the door. Sure, Amity replied, getting up from the desk and joining Luz by the door. They walked out of the library, discussing where to go for lunch. The pair finally agreed on Adway, after Luz told Amity about the cookies they had. Walking up to the counter together, the pair looked towards the menu that hung above the register, debating what to get. Luz? A familiar voice greeted her, making her look towards the cashier. Oh, Willow, I didn't know you worked here. Yeah, I just started a few weeks ago, she explained, not taking notice of Amity, who stood partially behind Luz. Can you order for me? I'll just go sit somewhere, Amity said, walking away before Luz had the time to answer. Was that Amity? Why is she with you? Willow Whisper shouted after seeing Amity, not wanting to cause a scene. Yeah, we're getting lunch, Luz explained calmly, forgetting her friends had good reason to not like the green-haired girl. What? Willow's voice raised a bit higher. Could you order already? An annoyed voice sounded behind Luz. Ah, sorry, Luz said back before turning to Willow. We'll talk at school tomorrow. Just get your food. Willow sighed, the confusing on her face now replaced with concern. Okay. Luz gave a thumbs up and began ordering their lunches. I'm here. Luz sat down across from Amity, setting the food down in the middle of the table. You didn't tell me what you wanted, so I just got something pretty basic, she continued, sliding her sub over to her friend. That's fine. Thanks. Amity responded, her voice low. You down about something? Luz asked, digging into her sub. I'm fine, Amity assured, giving a half smile. Okay, Luz said sceptically, letting her friend eat peacefully. Oh, yeah, she added, pulling a small baggie down from in front of her friend. Amity picked it up, opening the bag before looking at Luz and grinning. Thanks, Noceda, she said, grabbing a cookie from the bag. They had oatmeal too, Luz exclaimed, holding up her own bag. Congratulations, Amity giggled, smiling at her friend. Thank you very much. Luz took a small bow before taking out her own cookie to eat. The pair ate in mostly silence, the occasional sentence being exchanged as they enjoyed their meal. Where should we go to next? Luz trailed off, tapping her foot as she stood outside of the restaurant. When do you have to be home? She turned to Amity, who stood beside her, arms crossed. I like to be home by 10 p.m., but knowing you, it'll never be. Amity jokingly sighed, seeming a lot more expressive since they started hanging out yesterday. Huh. It's weird. We've only been hanging out for less than 2 days. I feel like it's been way longer, Luz said, forgetting the topic at hand. I guess so, Amity agreed, realizing how little time they had actually been. That's pretty strange to think about, Luz said again, before refocusing on the topic at hand. Where do you want to go? She asked, pulling out her phone to check the time again. It's 2:15 p.m., so we've got like 7.5 hours if you want to be home by 10. I don't really do the whole hangout thing, Amity shrugged, reminding Luz how she mainly studied alone. Anywhere you ever wanted to go? Amity asked, trying to come up with ideas. I hear the park near the town center is nice, Amity replied, hoping Luz would know the one she was talking about. Oh, yeah, the one with the really pretty flower garden. Let's go, Luz exclaimed, grabbing Amity's hand, to which she instantly recoiled. Sorry, I probably should have asked, Luz said, rubbing the back of her neck. You don't have to apologize. You just startled me, Amity replied, beginning to walk to the town's center, gesturing for Luz to follow. Here it is, Luz exclaimed, running up the hill that overlooked the park. Oh, we should come back here later. It's great for stargazing, she added on, picking up the unobscured view of the sky. Sounds fun, Amity responded, smiling at her friend's warm expression. The pair walked down the winding paths, arriving at the sign that read Bonesborough Park Flower Garden. We're here, Luz loudly exclaimed, reminding Amity of a hyper child. Let's go look at the flowers then, Amity said, stepping into the large dome-shaped greenhouse that hosted the thousands of flowers. Yeah. Luz followed her, running in and immediately looking around. Her eyes started to the set of colors, from bright red chourettes to deep purple glorias. The entire rainbow on display for the pair to enjoy. It's beautiful, Amity said, glancing at the orange of petals that bobbed in the wind. Yeah. Oh, what's your favorite kind of flower? Let's see if we could find it. Luz suggested, smiling at Amity. I think the bee orchid is pretty interesting. It mimics a bee's pattern by looking like a bee. It attracts them to pollinate, which is quite fascinating. Did you know that most people confuse the light purple petrals for petals? The petals are actually. Oh no. Amity's excited tone seemed to instantly drained as she looked towards the ground. In a failed attempt to hide her embarrassment. Sorry, she murmured, her face red. No, that was sweet. How much you care about things like that. I want to hear more. Luz exclaimed, resting her hand on Amity's shoulder. You don't have to pity me, Amity said, shrugging Luz's hand off her. I'm not. I like listening to you talk, Luz said, thinking about what Amity said. Let's find the bee orchids. Purple spectrals, right? Luz asked, butchering the pronunciation of spectrals. What color are the petals? The petals are green, Amity responded, smiling at Luz's attempt to cheer her up. Okay, let's go. Luz pointed to the sky, marching forward towards the row of flowers. What's your favorite flower? Amity asked, watching Luz run around and looking at the flowers. I like yellow roses because they symbolize friendship, she replied, smiling warmly at Amity. The pair walked around for a few hours, taking in the beautiful sea of colors that encased them. Once the sky began to darken, the two left, walking back to the hill they'd passed over earlier. I'm gonna go grab a drink. Do you want one? Amity asked, pointing towards the vending machines that sat near the park bench at the foot of the hill. Yeah, thanks. Just a bottle of water, Luz responded, sitting down in the grass. As Amity walked to the vending machines, Luz lay back, looking at the sky. It was getting darker, and the stars were becoming clearer. The familiar scenery made her think about the past. How Eda used to take her here. How they'd watch the stars. How they'd seen shooting stars and meteor showers in the spot. Luz didn't like the lonely silence that had enveloped the area. It was different from the comforting silence she had with Amity around it. It didn't feel like true silence when they sat together. Only verbal silence. Like the company of the other wasn't truly quiet. Machine has busted. We have to share one, Amity grumbled, her presence snapping Luz out of her thoughts. Really? Luz replied, sitting up to look at her friend. Why would I lie about this, Noceda? Amity asked, taking a seat in the grass beside her. I don't know, Blight. Maybe you want to share. Luz teased, laying back down and gesturing for Amity to do the same. Sure, Amity sarcastically replied, handing the cold bottle to Luz. Geez, this is freezing, Luz said, taking a sip before handing it back. How'd they keep it in this cold in the vending machine? Amity added, putting the bottle down after drinking some. The pair laid back in the slightly overgrown grass, looking up to the sky as they sat in the dark, only illuminated by the moon's glow and scattered street lamps. Time seemed to slow as the two laid there for what felt like an eternity, talking and laughing as they pointed out constellations to each other. A loud ringing startled the pair, breaking their peaceful silence. Ah, sorry, I'll get it, Luz said, sitting up as she raised the phone to her ear. Hey, kid. Oh, hey. I don't mind you staying out late, but your mom would have my head if you stayed out too late and missed school the next morning. What time is it? Almost 11. Really? Yes, really, calm down, kid. I'll be home soon. Okay, bye. Bye, Eda. Luz turned to Amity, a sad look on her face. It's 11 p.m. My aunt wants me to come back home, Luz said, standing up from her spot and reaching her hand out. See, if it was up to you, really, I'd never get home. Amity said back, accepting Luz's help. Want me to walk you home? I'll be your fearless champion, Luz declared, striking a heroic pose and dropping her phone. Thanks, but I can do it, Amity giggled, picking up the phone and handing it back. Okay, guess we should split then, Luz said, rubbing the back of her neck. We haven't been apart since we met up at the library yesterday. Amity spoke, Luz's mood dampened. Yeah, that's pretty weird. Luz agreed, trying to stretch the conversation out. Yeah, well, I'll see you next Saturday, Amity replied, giving Luz a small smile. Not at school? Luz questioned, unsure of what her friend meant. No, well, yes, I'll see you at school, but we probably shouldn't talk there. Rumors spread like wildflower. Amity clarified before shrugging. Oh, okay. Luz spoke sadly. She liked hanging out with her new friend. Well, could Luz call them friends, even? They still called each other by last name, and Amity said they were only studying buddies and acquaintances. I should get home now. Shouldn't keep my aunt waiting. Luz awkwardly replied, gesturing in the direction of the house. Yeah, so should I. Amity agreed, starting to walk away. Luz walked in the opposite direction, away from Amity, away from her friend. Were they even friends? Did Amity even like her? They probably were just mutually using each other for studying. They were only here because of a bet. Nothing more. Impulsive thoughts plagued Luz's mind as she began to walk away, as a deep feeling of sorrow began to wash over her. A sudden spout dragging her back into the real world. Hey. She saw Amity waving, trying to get her attention. What? Luz stopped and turned around, unsure of what Amity was trying to convey. I had fun today. We should do this again sometime. Luz. Her words brought an instant smile to Luz's face. She couldn't contain her excitement. She so badly wanted to run over and hug her new friend. I had fun too. We'll talk about it on Saturday. Amity. Luz responded back, her face hurting from the smile she'd been unable to shake. The feeling of sorrow had vanished, as if it had never been there to begin with. In its place was a new feeling, a bubbly one that made her heart feel warm and her face heat up. It's obvious, the feelings of friendship. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm getting a little distracted for a second there, but I thought this was such a cute chapter. I say this as I've been listening to Rosie's new album. Right now I've been listening to Number One Girl on loop, which is hilarious, considering it's literally, from what I could gather out of like listening to it but not really listening to it, is wanting someone to want you, and this other person giving you false promises that you are the only, that you are the one, that you know, that you are loved, but in reality actions don't match up with words kind of situation. Which I think it's funny that I'm listening to this while I'm also reading this really, really cute, adorable fic. But this was adorable. The whole like thought of the fact that they have not actually stopped hanging out the whole time. I've fallen asleep in VC with my partner multiple times, and I'm gonna say this, falling asleep in VC with someone, like falling asleep in a call with someone, that's a recipe for falling in love. So this was super cute. Sorry, I'm rushed. It is late at night. I am going on vacation tomorrow for like 3 days. I come back on Saturday. Yeah, this is being posted Friday. and I'm recording this Thursday. You can see why I'm a little worried, since, yeah, I'm not gonna have fun tomorrow recording. I'm gonna have a little bit of time to record in the morning, but after that, like, I won't have some time. But I've been a little behind with that. My laptop stopped working for a while, and that was super annoying, but it's back to working, and we're all good. Anyways, as always, wait, Kingston? You did a really cute scene here. It was really fluffy. It was really cute. I really enjoyed it. As always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my Discord server and socials are down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.